Okay. I'm going to talk quietly because I don't want to blow the mic out. How's it going, everybody? Let me know. Did I blow the mic out? It should get better if I did. I can edit it in there and all. What is up, everyone? I see a lot of people happy, a lot of people not happy, from this one. Sweet, I didn't blow the mic out. All right, something went right today. Yeah, and yeah, I got my Lamar Jackson jacket on, all that, Um, all right, awesome. What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to the post-race show for the 2025 Goodyear 400. By the way, poll is up and all of that. We went 297 laps. We went almost 3.5 hours. We had 8 cautions for 45 laps, 4 lead changes total on the day, all to lead to an overtime Denny Hamlin victory at Darlington. Denny Hamlin gets the win. He wins it over William Byron by just under 0.6 of a second. Then Bell, Reddick, and Blaney, the top 5. Then Buescher, Chastain, Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs, and Kyle Busch, the top 10 in this race. We'll read super chats in a bit. Thank you very much. And we'll talk about a lot of the big parts of this race. Austin Cindric, 11th, 12th, Zane Smith, Joey Logano, 13th, 14th goes to Todd Gilliland, 15th, Daniel Suarez. Praise Ty Dillon. He got a 16th place finish today. 17th for Eric Jones, 18th for AJ Allmendinger, 19th, Noah Gragson, SVG, 20th on the day. Best finish, I think, of the season for him. If not, it's definitely up there for sure. Bubba Wallace, he's going to be the center of attention for maybe not the greatest reasons today. We'll talk about that in a bit. Comes home 21st, 22nd, Cole Custer, 23rd, Austin Dillon. Then Justin Haley and Ricky Stenhouse close out the top 25. 26th for Preece, way worse than he ran today. Cody Ware, 27th. Chase Briscoe, 28th. Michael McDowell, 29th. And that's the last one on the lead lap. 1 lap down in 30th for John Hunter Nemechek. Same for 31st and 32nd. Those going to Austin Hill with the 31st place finish today. And 32nd to Carson Hocevar, who, just a reminder, will be on NWP this week on Danny B Talks channel. So be sure to check that out Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. 2 laps down, 33rd place for Brad Keselowski. 2 down as well for Riley Herbst in 34th. The one that the broadcast pretty much forgot was a 2311 car today. Alex Bowman, the last one on the racetrack, 17 laps down, 35th, had some problems, had to go into the pits, had, to make repairs. Again, ran top 10 to 15 a lot of the day, but comes home 35th. And then 3 cars were out. Josh Berry in 36th, 37th, Kyle Larson, who crashed on laps 4 and also 4 laps to go in regulation. Kind of odd how that happened. And JJ Yaley last in this race, 38th position on the day. We're going to put the finishing order up on the screen. I'm just going to make sure that I have most of these spelled right. If I don't, I know you guys will let me know, which I appreciate. I think we're good to go. So that will go up now. I want to know in the chat, I want you to put out of 10 what you thought of this race. 10 being 2003 Darlington, Craven Busch, all-time great race. 1 being 2008 Brickyard 400, complete fiasco disaster. Let me know down in the chat below. I'm going to be honest. I will be honest with you on this, even though I didn't pick him for NWP. The history aspect of Byron possibly leading every lap, even if it was because of dirty air and track position, that was probably the main thing that kept me invested for a lot of the day. This race, I think you could see it in the long runs. You saw it with Blaney having his huge charge to the front at the end. You saw it through the different pit strategies and the way that tires mattered. That there was at least some bit that you could have of passing. There was more passing in the middle of the pack, but a Fox broadcast is never going to show you more than 7th on back. But up front, with what we saw was a bit of a snoozer. I'd probably hit that 4 to 5 range. And it's not because somebody dominated the whole day. I just didn't find it all that compelling of a race. And then, of course, the end. Like I found the end very compelling until the Larson Bubba caution. And I'm scrolling back through here and I'm seeing 6 3s, lots of 4s. There's some 8s and 9 6s. But generally, I'm seeing that. Of course, there's some that are 2 and 3 also. That's kind of there, but I'm seeing 4 through 6 for the most part of this race. That's what I'm seeing for the most part when it comes to how you guys are rating this. And don't get me wrong, I get it, Blaney fans. It's got to be rough because Blaney had that race won. Just far and away had that race won before the end. So let's talk about the end of the race a little bit. Then we can got to go more point by point through it. And by the way, for those who were here yesterday, and I had to go early, no problem today. No tornado warnings, no tornadoes in the area. We're good. We can talk all about this. So I'll go to the second page of my notes here. Talk a little bit about it. Last run of the race, give or take. We had a long green run. I think NASCAR.com might have they don't have the bar up, but if they had that green yellow bar to show what condition we were under racing wise, that's the end of it was very green, which I was okay with. The pit cycle, starting with 62 to go, I think really set off the finish we were going to get. Byron stayed out until about 49 laps to go. And to that point had led every single lap of the race. Make of that what you will. Like dominance, hate dominance, whichever way you go on that one. We'll talk about William Byron in a little bit and the dominance part of it, but talking about the finish of this race and what it was cycling up to be. Reddick cycled out with the lead. He had, I think it was something like a 6-second lead over Bell and Byron. Ryan Blaney back in the 7th or 8th spot. And I honestly think that Blaney, his drive was amazing for what he was stacked up against at the end of that race. Not only did he have to go through lap traffic, lead lap guys, chase down somebody, even that had inferior tires, it was still pretty good. But the big thing is he had to come back from his terrible crew. The 12 team just atrocious today in the pits. I think they said of the 38 car field, and then you had to take out Larson and Yaley from this just because they were out early and had issues and all that. So of the 36 guys who were in the majority of this race, they ranked 35th out there, which is not a surprise. I know plenty of Blaney fans, they tell me it all the time, that is normal. But he was charging. Passing guys left and right, making up tons of time. I'd say a masterclass with how much dirty air, and we'll talk about dirty air, William Byron, Kyle Larson. We'll talk about all this stuff, Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson in a minute, but comes up with 5 to go, is there. The 45 does what he can to defend. Reddick, to his credit, with the car going away. And then of course, getting in the wall, the fact that he managed to stay up there, I think was actually pretty astounding as well. Say what you want about the way it finished, but you look at the guys up front: Hamlin, Byron, Bell, Reddick, Blaney. Those 5 are some of the best out there, week in and week out. And even when the racing isn't that compelling, even when the strategies and all of that, the mumbo jumbo and everything in the middle is not exactly conducive to a fun race, Darlington at least does prove that the best at the end of these races, teams, drivers, etc., make it up there. But he makes it around Reddick with 4 laps to go, looks well on his way as the 45 gets up into the wall. And then the caution comes out, which at that point, anyone who's been watching that 12 team all day knows it's over. It's just completely over. And talking about Larson going off the 23's nose. So I know the immediate reaction is going to be from a lot of people that the 23 did it in order to get the 45 a better shot at the win. I'm not exactly sold on that personally, and it's not because I'm some Bubba defender or a Kyle Larson hater. I don't want to go on either end of that argument because I think it's a stupid argument to have. My only kind of question with that just is one, we really didn't get a good angle other than the fact that the 5 definitely went off the 23's nose. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Obviously that did happen. But we really Fox didn't give a good angle. I would actually, I'm wondering if Twitter has it, and maybe we can download the video and play it up here. If they have the angle from the 23 car so we can see what exactly happened. Because if anything, it looked like the 5 kind of slowed down. So I'm going to put it in here just because let's have fun with it. I'll see what you guys vote with it. Do you think the 23 intent spun the 5? I don't think so personally. I know a lot of people are emotional right now. I know a lot of people, I know a lot of people are saying it's probably intentional. The 23 can be at fault without it being intentional. So I'm going to put yes, 100%. No incident. You know what? We'll just put that because I honestly think, I really think it was an incident. I really think it was that. I know a lot of Larson, LARPers, Hendrick homers, and defenders are going to get mad at me about that. So be it. It's nothing new. I really don't think that was the case. I don't. I think that maybe the 5 was going slower than the 23 thought. I mean, I think the 23 made either a slow reaction or a mistake. That can be the case too. I would like to see like actually what happened from the 23. If somebody has that, let me know and I can look. And I'm looking at chat. No, just because somebody's mad about their driver being wrecked doesn't make them racist. But can we stop with the stupid arguments? All right. It seemed to me more like a racing deal. If I am being 100% honest, it seemed like a racing deal. But because it's Kyle Larson and because it's Bubba Wallace, everyone is going to go full stupid. So NASCAR does have a tweet. I'm going to put up my phone just so that we don't have the deal go up. I can't put NASCAR ones from their Twitter, I don't think, on here without the copyright issue. But I'll pull it up. Let me see. Where's it at? Okay. You might hear a little bit of it. So I'm watching. 5 gets ahead of him. Slow. Damn, it almost looked like Larson brake checked him. Yeah, that's not Bubba's fault at all. I mean, maybe the 5 got loose, but I'm watching back on it, and the 5 goes underneath the 23. Pulls out about a car length, slows down. So, and it might not be like intentionally brake check, but more this, gathering the car up or something like that. That doesn't look intentional to me. He slowed down in front of the 23. Maybe slow react. I mean, the only argument you can make, I think, is slow reaction time for Bubba Wallace. Sure. But I don't think that in any way was an intent. I think it was a racing deal. I think both of them might have made a mistake. You can percentage wise give it on one way or the other. And either way, I don't see Reddick winning this race. Just because he got in the wall, you could tell that 45 car was ailing. If anything, the 5 got slowed up so that he could avoid in case the 45 wrecked when he got into the wall. Like I don't see the intent here. I know that a lot of people are going to want to make a big deal about it. And they had that Las Vegas thing like 3 freaking years ago. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like it's completely fine with me. I'm a YouTuber. I love seeing drama, but there's nothing here, guys. This is dumb. This is a non-controversy. This is a nothing burger. I don't see really any issue. I don't see objectively how you can look at the replay and one, say the 23 intentionally did it, 2, say that the 5 intentionally wanted to get himself crashed. And the more I look at it, I'm looking at it on my phone right here. It looks like the 5's avoiding the 45 in case he crashes. It looks like Bubba is just getting right into him because it was not that much of a gap. So maybe a car length between them. But hey, internet's going to internet this week. We know how it's going to be. But ultimately that cost the 12 the race, because we knew that as soon as it got put into the hands of Ryan Blaney's crew, as soon as that happened, We all knew that 12 team was going to lose a ton of spots. The race out of the pits, the 11 team absolutely excels. Hamlin gets out. I know a lot of people are also saying Denny Hamlin was speeding because he looks so fast compared to some of the others firing out of their pits. But we've seen this for years where people play the timing lines. I don't think NASCAR again is going to rig it for Denny Hamlin of all people to win, the guy who's in the middle of a lawsuit against them. I'm not saying you need to be happy about this race. All I'm saying is like we need to use our brains a little bit here on this stuff. Either way, that pit stop, then getting ahead of the 45, the 24 with the number 1 stall was going to get ahead of the 12 if he had a bad stop. Of course, that happened. Blaney comes out 4th after coming in 1st. Denny fires out, wins the race, and this, I believe, gets him solely to 11th all time with 56 career Cup wins, 4 behind Kevin Harvick to tie for 10th. But I get it. People are going to be pissed about the end because it's Denny, or they're going to be pissed because it was a relatively dull race that had a really good finish shaping up. It did. The 12 charging up through the field was a great story, a great finish. Catching the 45, passing him. It would have been a nice finish to an otherwise uneventful day. But you know, that's NASCAR in the modern day, man. And it was a real caution. We can talk about that too. We'll talk about there's another caution controversy when it comes to Brad Keselowski as well that we can talk about. There's plenty of stuff to talk about. It's going to be one of those post race ones. So let's look back a little bit further. We'll go kind of point by point through this a little bit. William Byron wins the pole and he just dominates the whole race. Let's talk about William Byron right now. Just dominates the whole race, man. Until about 49 to go. So if I'm not mistaken, that's around lap 243, 244. I think about 243. Yeah. Now I think that for a lot of the day, he had the best car. I think he might have still had the best car at the end of the race, just have the best tires. But I do think that a big part of it, you're going to hear it all week, is dirty air. Dirty air is such a huge problem with the next gen. It's been a problem forever. And I know a lot of people are happy because they're not crazy about Byron, especially after what he said this week about the throwbacks. We'll talk about that later in the week. Or if you guys want to, we can talk about it after we talk about the race. But I think it was a perfect mix for Byron to lead all those laps. You start up front. The track position game with the next gen, and especially at Darlington, is huge. And don't get me wrong, everything that went right at the end, everything went wrong, especially crew chief call with Rudy Fugle. I almost wonder if the idea of leading every single lap kind of clouded the judgment a little bit, if that came into play. I know everyone's going to always say no on that, but when you have a chance to make history, and earlier in the race, they had that opening for them, I think you do have to at least question a little bit if that was playing in the mind of Rudy Fugle there. But a lot of it today was dirty air, track position, and just plainly some good luck. I think it was it the first stage or was it early in the second? I can't remember. It was early on in the race. But Byron had stayed out long during a cycle of green flag stops. And that's when the Brad Keselowski deal and the caution came out. And it fell perfectly for him to lead a ton of laps, to keep the lead and stay on up there. It was clear that his car was not as good in lap traffic, so not as good in dirty air as a lot of other drivers' cars were out there. And I think it was also clear that his long run speed went down at the end of the runs too, even when that wasn't the case. I think Joey Logano at one point was running him down. Bubba Wallace was running him down at different points. So the first 2/3, 3/4, 80%, whatever of the race that he was leading up there, 243 of the initial 293 laps. So let's just say of regulation, the opening 83% of the race he led, everything went into the 24's favor too. I don't think that they had a super illegaled up car. I think it was a mix of the next gen and luck. Then it all went to hell in a handbasket with the call at the end there. With 62 to go, that's when green flag stops began and the pit cycle started. generally, though, it was Priest and a couple others that trickled on before the actual leaders came on. But you saw a lot of different guys pitting beforehand. You saw Joey Logano, I believe, pit beforehand. I think Bell pit beforehand. Reddick, a couple others. And the 24 stayed out on older tires. And with that, you know, you knew that they were going to be cycled back. And we'd seen all day long that the 24 had not been as good in dirty air. And it's not just if I'm seeing this, if you are seeing it at home, the crew chief should be seeing it. Rudy Fugle has been very good. I think he is one of the best crew chiefs out there, one of the best of the next gen era of understanding this car, understanding what his driver needs, and understanding his driver. And they've won a ton of races doing that. But pitting late, and especially I think Spencer here, you know, at least I've kind of gathered this in the past, they usually do seem to pit pretty early. And this time they didn't. They pit later, and it cost them dearly. I don't even think, though, if he stays out even longer and has fresher tires, I don't think he makes it back up, though. I think this was a huge miscalculation from Rudy Fugle, and I definitely think that they're gonna learn from this. I think come Darlington in the fall, come the Southern 500, I think this will be a big thing playing in the minds of the 24 team, maybe of Hendrick Motorsports in general. You know, so there is that. Now let's see some of the other sides of it. I believe, was it in the second stage? Yes. Stage 2, Brad Keselowski with the caution controversy. So green flag cycle again starting up. This is the one that Byron and the 24 team had benefited off of. Brad Keselowski on lap 135 spins off turn 4. I think makes contact, I believe, with Zane Smith during a green flag cycle. He's slow. There's no caution, but it's clear that the lug has come off. NASCAR keeps it green. Now, I'm going to say now, if it had just been a mini spin and nothing else, the lug hadn't come off, all that, everyone in this chat during the race, everyone on Twitter, a lot of people would be super upset if the caution came out. We got to remind ourselves of that as we go. But the lug came off. From the sounds of it, they didn't know where it went. NASCAR held the flag, choked on the whistle for 3 to 4 laps. Lap 138, caution comes out for debris. Still in the middle of the cycle. Before I give my take, I'm trying to think of what NASCAR's thinking was there. Because they've shown early in the year, we had the controversies of when or when to not throw a caution. And this was at the end of the race that we were talking about this with Daytona and Atlanta. But I think it's still applicable a little bit. The conversation is to the middle of the race, like we're talking about right now. So you had, you know, this big thing about a caution's a caution. Doesn't matter what lap it is. Last lap, first lap, every lap in between. On the other end, I think NASCAR's thinking, and I don't think it was necessarily the right thinking, but I think NASCAR's thinking, and they've done it before, was that they were going to try and keep it green until the green flag cycle had passed and then throw the caution and look for the debris. Ultimately, they didn't do that. I don't know why. They might have went one way or another. They might not have even seen the debris until the Fox replay, because it seemed like the replay was almost what kind of set the caution off. So I'm going to ask you guys, when should the Brad yellow been thrown? And I'll give a few options. When the 6 slid and nearly spun. When the 6 nearly spun. How about that? When the 6 nearly spun. When they threw it. Or after green flag stops. All right. 3 options up. Poll goes up now. To me, I think you got to keep it consistent. The 6 spun in front of cars in the corner, made contact with the 38. I believe it was a 38. lug came off, so there was debris on the racetrack. I think that if you're gonna be gung-ho about calling cautions when they should be and how you've called them in the past, I think you need to just call it in the moment. I don't think it should be, it sucks during a green flag, pit stop cycle. It sucks. It's going to screw people over. But if you're going to keep it the way the precedent has been in the past, that should probably be it. Don't get me wrong. It ended up not being something that would cause some major incident. But at the same time, that's not what the cautions aren't for. The effect that happens after the incident begins. It's for the incident itself. So I think that's, again, probably when they should have thrown it. If they're going to swallow the whistle, they need to do it across the board. But they have more than once this year said that they weren't going to swallow the whistle. So I'll hold their feet to the fire on that. They should throw it then, right at the moment that the incident's starting up, that there's debris they see flying off the car, stuff like that. I know a lot of people are gonna, God, I'm sorry. Most of you are really good, but God, there are some idiots in the chat today. I love most of y'all, but some of you guys are like, I'm seeing some of the brain dead comments, and it's entertaining, but goddamn, it's interesting. I'll say that. Looking at the poll right now for it, it looks like about 58% are saying, 59 to 60% are saying when the 6 nearly spun. About a third of you are saying generally when they threw it, and then 14 or so are saying wait till the green flag cycle ends out. So there is that. Hey, you guys never came here to agree with me, so I'm not saying it's because you disagree with me. I'm saying it's because of how you guys are acting to each other. That's the really funny one. But hey, this is NASCAR. Of course, we're going to have these kind of deals. It's like an every week thing at this point. Looking at some of the other incidents, by the way, if I'm looking down, I got notes. I actually do take notes during the race. You did have the Carson Hocevar deals. The first one being Carson Hocevar around on lap 24 when he had a right rear puncture. And it was confirmed by reporters that the 77's right rear actually had a puncture in it that caused it to go flat in 3 and 4. He hit the wall in 2 beforehand. That might have been part of it. So there was that early on in the race. Again, early on, I think the first stage actually was really good. I think people just aren't going to remember it because the 24 led a bunch. But I did want to find it, say something really interesting. And I know it got shared in one of my chats here about the Hocevar deal. Where did it go? Did the tweet get deleted? No, it's still there. Chandler Smith, who currently drives in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, said this. That 77 spin definitely looked a little interesting. ... What do you think? Of course, the comments were as civil as Twitter will be, as in it was not at all. It was just, as Obi-Wan would say, so uncivilized. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny watching drivers on Twitter go back and forth with that. I'll tell you what, we'll ask Carson this week. We'll ask him this Wednesday night on NWP. Like, what was that interesting? We'll even ask him what he thinks of Chandler Smith saying that. Personally, I think that the tire was punctured. Again, if we get something proven otherwise, we can look more at that. But I think it was just a normal flat tire spin. Now, the one that I think was egregious on the 77 was right at the end of stage 1. He makes contact trying to hold up William Byron. He's 2 laps down, trying to get one of those laps back, and he ends up not being clear as well, but he kind of got bumped a little from the 24. It sends him up into the 35, and he crashes. Just not a good move. I personally just think not a good move at all on the 77's part there. Ultimately, that's what pushed him to the back for the entirety of the day, instead of, because he probably could have come back. It seemed like the 77 actually had some genuine speed out there, but he made just a young rookie kind of driver mistake, and that ended up costing him dearly. I can't wait to talk to him about all this. I know it was not a good race for him, but I think it's going to be really, really interesting. And the crazy part of all of that is he ended up finishing ahead of Riley Herbst anyway. But so did, I think, 33 other drivers out there. So there is that. There were some other little things that happened in this race, but overall, this was very much a stock standard, dominated for the majority of the day kind of deal. Not the greatest. Like I'd probably say similar to last week, 4 out of 10. I think there was maybe 5 if you want to be generous. It was a little bit below average race. I'll say that. We got the poll up. I can probably look at some of the on the community tab, on the post tab. Yeah, it's roughly around the voting that Martinsville had. I feel like what you thought of Martinsville is probably going to be kind of influence what you thought here. I know the Denny Hamlin side of it and all that is going to make it even more negative for some people, but oh no, this wasn't really this was not a barn burner by any means, being gracious to it. I did not think it was all that good. Just to say the least. Which is disappointing because Darlington, I think, has had bangers for just about every next gen race. Towards the middle of the race, I was thinking, okay, people are kind of going overboard with complaining just because every Darlington race is kind of like this. Every Darlington race gets dominated at some point. Every Darlington race has a lull in it. It doesn't matter if it's Gen 4, COT, Gen 6, next gen. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe stage 2, but then the last stage really wasn't all that great. We had a good finish and a good story kind of ramping up towards the finish of it, but the deal with the 23 and the 5 that I guarantee, no matter what I say, somebody will be upset with me on, is going to be what I think writes the story. It's going to be people upset with that, people upset with the 24 leading so much, people upset with Denny Hamlin winning. I don't think you're going to make very many people happy with this race, which, hey, we've had plenty of these over the years. Yeah, I see people are already ready for the 8th gen car already. This is the thing. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to for a standard amount of time, just add to whatever we have. And even then, like, yeah, there was a reinvention with the COT in a lot of ways. But the Gen 6 was just a continuation of it. So like you had from 2007 to 2021, basically the same car, except in 2013 they put lipstick on a pig. The Gen 4 was around from the mid to early 90s to say 2007. They'll have a Gen 8 probably in like 2030, 2031 to drum up some fan talk heading into the new TV contract, I would think. But it's probably just going to be the Gen 7 with, upgrades and electric boogaloo. So yeah, Gen 4 was 92 to 07. So yeah, early-ish to getting into the mid 90s into the middle of the 2000s. I'm with Eric here though. More power. I want more power under these cars. I'll say this. The tires I don't think are the problem. Goodyear can only get them soft enough, and I think they've done a great job at improving. It's up to NASCAR to actually fix the damn car. And the short tracks for sure. Martinsville, Richmond. I would not think Bristol's going to be the biggest barn burner next week. We're not getting last spring. I think we'll get better than last fall, but we're not getting as fun and wacky and wild as last spring. But I think we're starting to see more and more issues pop up with the car. And you know what? The Gen 6, COT, they all these cars saw the same thing. I mean, go back to 95, 96. There were some really good banger races. There were also some really awful ones with the Gen 4. So, I think that this one has more problems than ones in the past. But at the same time, I'm not saying it's the end of the world like a lot of fans are. I'm not gonna be like that one Twitter account that only posts pictures from 2003 to 2011 and then acts like everything during that era was perfect or everything that happened before and after was awful. If you know who it is. Don't be wrong. I think the Gen 4 is the best car in NASCAR history. Doesn't mean that it didn't have problems and that its era didn't need improvement over time. I just don't want NASCAR to try and go and reinvent a million other things and then be in the same damn situation with the 8th gen car in 5-10 years. Just fix the shit that's the problem now. I also think the idea of making everyone equal and having a spec car is the dumbest thing too. Here comes the sirens. Never freaking fails. Never fails. Come on. Go. Go. There you go. Spam the sirens in the chat. Yeah. But there you go. Yeah. Sirens in the chat. But yeah, it was few. God damn, there's more. A lot of people dying today. All in all, last couple weeks especially haven't been the greatest. I think we kind of. My God, there's more. Jesus Christ, man. You done? I think we're done. My God, man. I think we got spoiled early in the year. I think we had some pretty good races. There's more. Oh, they're going a different way. Okay, we're good. I think that's insane, man. Yeah, maybe they're getting where was that? Where they're getting the wambulances for a lot of people out there. I think we did get a little spoiled early in the year. Let's see. You telling me to calm down or them? Because I'm fine being fired up and having a good time. I'll be honest with you guys, though. For those that didn't tune in early when I said this, I was actually kind of rooting for Byron to lead every lap because at least then I'd get to say I saw history today and there'd be that to glean. As soon as as I knew that wasn't going to happen, the race ultimately became so much less interesting on that aspect, especially, but just in general. I know a lot of people wouldn't have liked it. I know a lot of people want to see a barn burner every week, but yeah, talking about the next gen, talking about NASCAR and all that, trying to get everyone as equal as possible I don't think is always going to be the right move. I think you need to have people work ahead and have someone to catch and things like that. You see it, but I mean, the teams themselves, people who are experts, retired drivers and team members say the same thing, that, when you have that, you can be so close and still be a 30th place guy. I am all for the team innovation crowd when it comes to the teams. Do what you want, go nuts, figuring stuff out, and then the competition needs to figure it out, or NASCAR, if they can reel you in a little bit. But I'm on team ingenuity with that. So I mean, there's some really good ones out there today. I really think that at the end of the day, though, Blaney deserved this win. His team didn't. He was on a rail at the end there, man. He should have won this race. We're going to end the poll here. A lot of you guys with the yellow saying that they should have thrown it when the 6 nearly spun. So there's that. Let's look at the supers. And there's a couple that were beforehand, I think. I don't know. It's not updating on my end. Oh, now it over updated. There we go. Snappy for the 5 said, woo, he beat your favorite driver again, baby. Let's go. Yeah, Denny Hamlin fans will be happy today, at least. Andrew Winslow says Carl Edwards wins and everything is good again. Yeah, I did wish that we would see Carl do a flip. I know he wasn't going to, but I can wish. Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 5 says this was not candidate for worst race ever, but this is far from a good race. To me, it was just an average Darlington race. Racing mid-pack was okay at times. That's the thing, but Fox isn't going to show the mid-pack for the most part. They're focused just on the front. We can talk about Fox a little bit. It's the weekly Fox update. It's a typical Fox broadcast. And it was cool having the Petties up there. And Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle with gets stiff for the Biff in the chat. Showing up there with the oversized sleeveless shirt and I don't know if he had jorts or shorts or what on. That was cool to see. That was I always like seeing Greg Biffle come on back. The Petties being up there, I think, was kind of interesting. You had a throwback. For those that remember 2008, you had a throwback to DW's voice being out with Kyle Petty. So there's that too. I'm just finding little things to be happy with here and there. But yeah, come on. Put it all in the chat. gets stiff for the Biff. Carl Singleton with the 5. Odds that Toyota leaves NASCAR because of the tariffs. I mean, they make their stuff in America, so why would they? Like, okay, I'm not going to get political on this. I'm going to talk about the OEMs. Of the 3 OEMs in NASCAR, if I'm not mistaken, at least last time I checked, Toyota makes them more of their cars in America than Chevrolet or Ford does. So, like, no, no, I don't think that's going to happen. And then Hunter Nixon, God damn if this thing can fucking update. Oh, I love how YouTube glitches. It's so great. Where's that? Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 5. I just read what you said. I think it doubled. Yeah, it doubled on my end. My bad. I didn't mean to get your hopes up. Never was cool, says the oldest man winning the oldest tracks. Good point. So what you're saying is pick 11 North Wilkesboro. That's funny. I'm probably not going to pick him. And then as soon as somebody remembers this, they're going to remind me forever. Let's see. 3. I think it's 3rd. 3 for the 5 says Brad K's spin pretty much killed the fast cars who pitted. Larson and 2. Larson should have been on the apron. No excuse for him to be up there like that. Definitely that spin and the strategy and all. You get stuck in the back. I mean, there were guys that were running top 5, top 10 in this race that never got back up there because of that. Now there were some also that did. And the Larson side of it, I guess, I still think looking back on it, he slowed down for the 45. But hey, you know, somebody finds or says something otherwise through the week, we'll definitely look at it. SW for the 5. Sorry, I had chicken today. I'm feeling it. Says Bubba did not intentionally dump Larson, but of course Bubba gets flack for all the wrong reasons. I feel bad for him. Yeah, it seemed like a majority of the people kind of were on that, like it was not on him. Or at least it wasn't intentional, that's for sure. Marky Mark says freaking overtime. I know. At least it wasn't Nashville. Let's see here. I'm scrolling. BCM89 for the 10 says, as a big fan of the outer and inner wall, I think if we can keep momentum and clean up some non-mistakes of drivers, we can make some big waves in the playoffs this year. Go outer and inner wall. Yeah, outer and inner wall, definitely going to be in the playoffs. I think all the way to Phoenix. That's for sure. Captain 4 Guns for the 10 says, another week, another round of eternal sadness watching RFK go from front to back. I guess we had it coming after last year. Congratulations to Denny, though. Got to get his and Byron's diecast. Yeah, they were some pretty good ones. Throwback wise, spam the number in the chat for your favorite throwback, whether it was the 5, whether it was the 11 or the 24, the 21. I know it was a lot for people that were a lot bigger throwback fans. Spam it in the chat. What was your favorite diecast? I think 5's probably going to win this. It was my favorite. I know it's kind of chalk. I get that. But favorite cup diecast today. A lot of 21s, a lot of 5s. Seeing 11, 20, 42, 22, 48. So there's a good variance, but it's generally like there's the top ones. Definitely the top ones out there were the 21 for sure, the 5. I don't think the 8. I'm pretty sure the 8 didn't. He was throwing it back to Lamar Jackson. Okay, let's go back. Let's see. Brandon for the 5 says, the whiny fans are what is killing NASCAR. These dumb conspiracy theories every week are ridiculous. We have to have the dumbest fan base. I'm going to push back a little bit. Whiny fans are in every sport. Trust me. They're in football. They're in basketball. They're in baseball. They're in IndyCar. They're definitely in Formula 1, and they're not struggling worldwide right now. Dumb conspiracy theories every week. That's just a fan thing. Fans have done that forever. Go back to the 70s in sports. Any sport, any motorsport fans are doing that. I think a lot of you in the chat are scapegoating fans as like problems for things because like you don't have good reasoning for your arguments on the other side of it. Dumbest fan base? We might have the dumbest fan base, but they're all pretty dumb. Like, is there actually an intelligent fan base? And no, it's not a fan base you like because you agree with it. No, but I really would argue in sports, there is no intelligent fan base. I really would argue that at this point, because we can say NASCAR fans are dumb, but then I've seen fans in every other sport and every team that I've encountered, and there's smart ones, there's really stupid ones. And conspiracy theories of fans, that's just that's a fan thing. It's just fans in general. We just hear more of it now because we have the internet. I think that's it. I think the fact that a lot of people have not gathered the fact that like the internet for the longest time has shown a light on what a majority of fan bases and groups of people think. But I don't know. Either way. Derek here for the 2 says, is it time to set the alarm for Trackhouse? Where'd they finish? I mean, Ross got 7th today. Hang the banner. SVG got a top 20. And where'd Suarez finish? 15th. So, I don't know. I think they're just sort of falling in place to where they're going to be in the Chevy ladder. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're great. They're good enough. You know, they're second tier. Fred Dog for the 2 says, take that 5 paint job and junk it. Really bad juju. I think it was somebody put a picture out that Larson has now crashed in the last 4 spring races at Darlington, which is kind of crazy. And if you think about it, that team has crashed in 5 because that 5 team, if I'm not mistaken, took over for the 48 team when Jimmy Johnson, because they had sort of switches, number switches like they like to do at Hendrick. So if I'm not mistaken, I very much could be. It's a 5th spring Darlington. It's every spring Darlington race this decade. That team has been crashed out. I could probably be wrong. I probably am. So there's conspiracy theory for you. Let's see. Nick here for the 2. William Byron being dominant does not equal that it was hard to pass. I mean, Darlington's hard to pass in and of itself. It was hard to pass. That's Darlington. I think it was a little more than usual just because the next gen has its issues, especially at the front. I mean, it was like once Byron got put back there and his car really hadn't taken a shit or anything, it was hard for him to make any ground up. It was not a bad race because he dominated. I'll say that. And I said the same thing after Hamlin won. I said the same thing last year after the Bristol night race. Like, I am not opposed to dominant guys. There can be great races where somebody dominates and the race for second is fun. That is not the reason that I have had my gripes with this race today. The Sonic 24 says, terrible race, next gen flaws on full display. So we have both ends of the spectrum on the super chat side of things. Let's see. Twin Spinner for the 2 says, no way Bubba would purposely screw Ryan out of a W. Yeah, I really don't subscribe to any of that right now. Let's see what else we got. Evergreen Mountain says, to all the haters crying right now, keep crying. Your tears fuel Denny as if they were a fountain of youth, or the fountain of youth itself. Hashtag 11 against the world. Told you, Denny fans are going to be fun. You're going to be happy. They're going to have some fun. So there's that. Carl Singleton says, Bubba has grown up so much since Vegas 22. That's the thing. I don't think it's that big. Everyone's going to make a big deal about it because who's involved. It's not that big of a problem. Z06 Paul for the Vibe says, Bubba brings out the ignorance and stupidity of the fan base on both sides. Yeah. I'll say is this. I ain't going on Facebook. I mean, I don't have a Facebook and I never would because like I'm not over the age of 60, but even if I was going on Facebook, I wouldn't go on today. Sly Super Sonic for the 235. That's how Larson knows he messed up. I feel like I missed something beforehand. Michael Kelly Gilliam with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you. And I'm sure 5 people in there appreciate it as well. Very much appreciate it. Michael Kelly Gilliam, been around a long time on this channel, man. Reverend Rasheem All Stewart for the 2. Throwback weekend should be on the Southern 500. I still agree with this. I think later in the season, a lot of these teams need the exposure. And like it or not, teams that usually would not get the exposure from TV do with Throwback weekend. I just wish it was later in the year. Maybe it could help sell some sponsorship, something like that. I'd be interested to see if teams have data to prove my theory correct on that. I know that a lot of people are going to say, like, no, it's fine where it's at. Let's leave another poll up. And this is a strict yes or no. Has Throwback weekend, if I can spell that, ran its course? Because that was the big talking point. And that's what we're going to talk about in tomorrow's video. Has Throwback weekend ran its course? I'm interested to see how skewed it'll be. I noticed a lot of people, as soon as their favorite driver started saying it did, suddenly their tunes shifted. And the tune of the conversation shifted. It's the power of the drivers, man. They have more power than I think they do. They just choose not to use it. I personally don't think it has. And I'll explain it further tomorrow. I promise. Fred Dog 81 for the 5 says, there's one thing we can all unite and agree on. Fox's coverage is still terrible. They literally were looking at clouds instead of the race at one point. Yeah, it's still bad. Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 10 says, I wouldn't say Dirty Air is as bad with this car as the Gen 6 because we all praise the 1.5 mile racing with this car, but still would like to see more mechanical grip put into these cars. So I agree 100% with the second part of it. I'd say it's depending on the track, whichever way that they've set stuff up, tested, whatnot with it, because you can definitely tell it's worse at the short tracks. It's worse at the 1 mile tracks and even the kind of Darlington size tracks, the 1 1/3 mile ones here and there, though at Nashville it's not that bad. It kind of goes both ways, and you're starting to see it more at the 1.5 miles too. But the Gen 6, yeah, people clamoring for the Gen 6 to come back, guys, like that was not as good as you remember. They had good moments, it had good races, just like this generation does. But it was not just this bastion of great racing that some people are attributing to it. It was a step or two below the COT, which was a step or so below. And again, COT, I think, was like a B plus car, but had to follow up, in my opinion, the best car in NASCAR history. So people hated on it. Plus, it was ugly as sin the first couple of years. I know people are nostalgic for it. It's been 20 years, blah, 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 blah. But the Gen 6 was a serious step down from the COT. And was not the greatest car. So there is that. Bryce here with the 10 says, I just want to say I have seen a lot of chats being so conspiracy theorists at the end of the race. Just want to ask, do you think Larson wanted to wreck on purpose? Yeah, it's going to go both ways. People are going to conspiracy theorist about, Larson wanting to get back at Bubba or something from something that happened 3 years ago. Others are going to say that Bubba was crashing the 5, so the 45 would have a better shot. It's, I'm not surprised. Wizard King Nick says, nice throwback Harvick hat and jacket. Nah, man, it's got an 8 on. Where's that? It's got an 8 on it. This is Lamar Jackson. That's not Kevin Harvick. It's Lamar Jackson. Let's see. JC1424 at the 5. Larson's bizarre fetish with destroying his throwbacks on a yearly basis has turned his minus 16 gap in the leader to minus 72. Byron over Hamlin minus 49. I've not heard someone consider it a throwback destroying fetish, but that's an interesting way to put it. A plus, 10 out of 10 for creativity. A Prada here says, after a few years, the next gen is showing how flawed it is. This year has shown that this car will be a nightmare for racing and traffic at all tracks. I do think that it's just going to get worse as the year goes because the teams are going to continue just as they have the last couple of years learning the car. Though I don't think it's going to be the end of the world every race. Bristol might not be the greatest. Talladega might, but well, shit, then we got Texas because that's the way that the schedule has been redone. Next 3 races might be make or break for a lot of people, as I just completely moved my desk around. But yeah, the flaws definitely are on display. Let's see. Jason says, when will Hendrick make crew changes for the 48? Last week, loose wheel on pit road. This week, poor qualifying and no speed. Fire Blake Harris. A couple weeks ago, everyone was praising Blake Harris for setting up the car really well and why the 48 was not the 4th best Hendrick team. It's an ebb and flow kind of thing. I think that they'll be fine. In a couple weeks, that 48 team will probably be competing again in one of the races. By the end of the Fox side of things, I don't think it's time to panic. The team is still well up and in the playoff side of things, so I don't think there's a reason to panic yet. Andrew Winslow for the 2 says, Kyle Larson is the lol cow of the race as of now. He's definitely in contention, that's for sure. A Prada says, also Rudy pitted early at Phoenix and Martinsville and got hosed on cautions. He likely waited today to not get burned. Sucks for Willie B to lose this race. Yeah, and so, you know, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't, and that's probably played more into it even than the leading the lap side of things was let's not get burned. Let's lose time if we have to, but not get screwed like those guys early in the race were too, like we were in past races. So I feel for you 24 fans though, because it's not often somebody is that dominant that long in that, for that much of a race. And those races don't come around often. The Polish hardware store for the 2 says Cindric fought all day and finished 11th. Yes, I mean, hey, that 2 team has definitely taken a step so far this year. We're now 8 races in. They've taken some massive strides from the previous years. So credit to Cindric and the 2 team. They're not great by any means, but I think they're playoff caliber, and they have not been that way for a while. So Squirrely Murley for the 1. No comment on that, but I appreciate it either way. Alessandro for the 5 says, bad showing for Larson in this race. There was no milk in those Frosted Flakes today. Also, Jarrett, when you move out, you are going to miss this. Are you going to miss the sirens? Kind of. It's kind of a sentimental, fun thing to think about. I'll miss them. But also with a new baby, I'm not exactly going to be wanting sirens going past my window 5 to 10 times a day. So I'm okay with not having them. I would like to get a little sleep through late May, June, and all summer long. And I feel like that those kind of sirens would not help. Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 5 says Lamar Jackson should sue himself for his shitty playoff performances. I mean, Dale Jr. has more playoff wins than Lamar Jackson. So, Raise Hell Praise Dale says, which Cup drivers do you think are currently in the hot seat? Definitely Daniel Suarez. I think one way or another that seat is not his for the long term. I don't think Kyle Busch is the hot seat, but I know he'll be on the move probably if a better ride opens up or a better opportunity. Honestly, especially if somebody that's better in the Toyota pipeline comes along with sponsorship, I don't see Riley Herbst lasting that long once a better option comes along, because he's not exactly great. Marky Mark with the 2 saying best Kellogg's cereal. Let's think. I don't eat cereal, or I haven't for a long time. So I got to actually look up which cereals they are. So I see some options here. There's obviously normal Corn Flakes, Apple Jacks, Frosted Mini Wheats, Special K, Frosted Flakes, Rice Krispies, Raisin Bran, Fruit Loops. To me, it's between Special K, strawberry, or the blueberry frosted mini wheats. That would be the battle for me. A lot of people saying Corn Flakes or Frosted Flakes. I remember my great grandma back in the day would get me just normal bran flakes, so normal Corn Flakes, and then she'd add sugar into the milk and it'd make it so much better. But well, that was interesting. Tell you what, doesn't matter if the race is good or bad. As long as the tornado doesn't hit, I can talk about a race. I can talk about racing for well over an hour, hours. I could talk hours. Honestly, if we had like, a million different chats about crazy stuff or super chats galore that I missed or whatever that brought up even more topics I didn't think of, I could probably talk racing for 12 straight hours. So, but I appreciate you guys coming out. We'll be live after the truck race on Friday, Xfinity race Saturday, and Bristol Sunday. Last cup race before the last off weekend of the year. We'll be live after all three of them. Live on Wednesday night on Danny B's channel as well. We'll be having Carson Hocevar come on to talk about his no good, very bad day at Darlington, as well as other things. Maybe we'll have him the whole episode. I want to know who his picks are for Bristol. I know he's going to pick himself for Cup, but I want to see who he picks for the lower two series. That'll be a lot of fun. So can't wait to see y'all there. Gonna put a video out tomorrow about Throwback Week and probably a few other things. Probably gonna record it all tonight, honestly. So be sure to check that out. Can't wait to see you in all those. You guys have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you this week. All right, later, y'all.